Welcome to inspireWord, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We're starting to see the tickers going up, and tonight we have some very special guests. In my opinion, a Catholic power couple who not only has a really inspirational story of what made them who they are today, but also doing great things together as they're trying to work and help the kingdom of God. But as always, first, thanks to Solidarity Health Share, Catholic Order of Foresters, and Charity Mobile, the pro-life mobile company, for their help and their support in bringing these messages to your living room. And the behind the scenes, almost, it feels like we're FaceTiming with the faith-based leaders like Matt and Erin Ingold, who we're going to see here in a little bit. If you're joining for the first time, inspireWord is the response to the COVID-19 crisis, where we wanted to bring all of the speakers that we represent at CatholicSpeakers.com to your own home and allow you to have some FaceTime with them. And not only that, interact with them live and ask questions. So please go to inspireword.com right now and sign up on our mailing list to get not only alerts on upcoming events and upcoming conversations like this one, but past ones that we've had many of your favorite faith-based leaders on. So please do that now, and definitely follow us on social media. All of those links will be posted in the chat box. Also, please start chatting to us, questions, comments, as we are talking with Matt and Erin. So without further ado, let me invite them into inspireWord. Welcome to inspireWord, Matt and Erin Ingold.
Hey, Joe. What's happening, man? Good to see you again.
You too. We were on a show together, I think about a month ago, and it's great to, it feels like no time has passed. You guys look young.
Yeah, man. Got a little bit of a haircut, though, since then, right?
I did. Yeah.
COVID's going on right now.
You're right. You saw my COVID cut, which is was a mix between, I think, a Matt McConaughey and a homeless guy. It was just out of control. But
dude, you rocked it, man. You're pulling it off.
Well, listen, again, we're so excited to have you all on inspireWord. You both have done such incredible things, and recently with your online conferences, something that really pioneered, I think, started a wave across not only the country, but maybe the world, that you guys kind of just fell into and created. But first, Matt, Erin, and Erin, of course, lovely ladies first. Maybe give us a background and a history of your family life growing up and who you are really quick.
Oh, man, I didn't think I would be going first. Okay. So I grew up in upstate New York, and in a beautiful family. My family's wonderful, good Catholic family. I went to Franciscan University of Steubenville, and I graduated with a theology degree. Long story short, I became a youth minister because there are very few things that you can actually do with a theology degree, and youth minister is one of them. And so I became a youth minister, and that didn't really work out for me. I had a lot of thoughts about it. And the funny thing is, I'm a mindset coach. So now looking back at it, I'm like, that's probably why it wasn't working out, because of all the thoughts I was having. Yeah, about it.
I was the problem.
Right. Exactly. But then I became a hairstylist and ministered to many people that way in a more covert action. And met Matt, and long story short, what is it exactly that you want to know? Because
okay, yeah, great. No, that was a perfect. So just so people could kind of know your background. Okay. Siblings?
I'm one of 5. Yep.
Okay, there you go. The Catholic family. I'm one of 6. So no wonder we all get along so well. You got to learn how to do that straight from birth when you're from a family like that.
That's true. Especially being in cold climates, like up in upstate New York, like you're stuck inside for like 8 months out of the year, and so you have to be like kind of cordial or at least funny.
Right. Exactly. Well, thank you for that. And then Matt, quickly, your background, your history, maybe just a childhood growing up, family life, and then we'll get into some other stuff.
Yeah. Grew up in Jersey with parents. Dad was Fallen Catholic, met my mom. She was Methodist. They met in the middle, and they said they became Lutheran. And then in 1990, we went to Medjugorje, and our family had a huge conversion. I was only in kindergarten at the time, and came home. Mom went into RCIA. My father, a couple of years later, became a deacon, and so we grew up really with the faith. And just high school, college at the United States Naval Academy, entered in the Marine Corps after that. Did a tour overseas in Afghanistan. Came home, met Erin. thought I was going to be a priest, but then I met Erin.
Wow.
And yeah, right. Not
Who could blame you?
dude, yeah, seriously.
Thanks,
Flesh and blood here. But that was in San Diego, and we ended up getting married after I came back from my second deployment, and lived in upstate or what was it? Northern Virginia. That's what I'm looking
We
for.
lived in a lot of places, actually.
We moved
kind of
around
like
quite a
gypsies
bit.
little bit.
Yeah. But when I got out of the Marine Corps, I really experienced a lot of healing through the Eucharist and my Catholic faith from just my combat experience. I wanted to help out guys with that. I joined a men's ministry called the King's Men with Mark Houck, and worked with their healing program that they had there for a while. Shortly after that, transitioned after about a little over a year and a half with them. And we moved upstate New York. We were having a tough time getting pregnant, wanted to be closer to home. There was a great naprotechnology doctor that was up here that we worked with. And, the rest is history. Got a little girl that we just put to bed. Praise God. Thank you very much to Dr. Hilders and all the work that he's done.
That's great. That's
man.
What a blessing. I know you're proud parents, and it's just great to have you all on. And that's the whole point of this, is giving inspiration to folks, the behind the scenes, get to know your personalities, and they kind of get to know you as people. Why don't we just talk about something that I know that you both are involved in, that kind of probably came from all your experiences wrapped into now what's an organization called Metanoia Catholic. And if you could just tell us what that is, the inspiration behind it, and what you're hoping to achieve with it.
Sure. Yeah.
You're going to leave this up to me? You take it.
Okay. I got it. In short, like I said, we were struggling with infertility for a long time. And then when we finally conceived and we had our beautiful baby girl, we were kind of in this place where it's just like, we thought, like, all right, we'll just move into the regular kind of married life at this point. And we just entered into this narrative, and it was just, and what we found, and it's nothing against our daughter, but there was still a longing in our hearts. There was this unmet longing. But we were really filling our lives with a whole lot of Netflixing that was going on, and just not a whole lot of deliberate growth. And it was just like, it was Groundhog Day. We were getting into little petty arguments about stuff, like our marriage is fine and everything, but there was just a lot of petty things that were going on. We met this couple, and this is about, over a year and a half ago now. We met this couple down in Ave Maria, Florida, where I was visiting my family, and they were life coaches. And I never thought that I'd be doing anything life coaching. But in short, they kind of shared with us, they're Catholic. They shared with us this program. And it was one of those things where at that moment I was just like, I don't care how much it costs. Like, this is a time in our life when we were in the red financially, and we really weren't in a place to be making any sort of investment. But I was just like, we need to change something. And both Erin and I felt that way. And so we made the investment, and it stung a little bit, but I'm glad it did, because we were gung ho about it. And we just had a phenomenal coach. We learned so much. We were surprisingly, everything we were like, we're going through a secular life coaching program, but like our prayer life just started to take off. We were so much more honest in our prayer life. We were so much more honest in our relationship, and just a lot of those petty arguments started to go away. And we started to live a lot more intentionally. We started to dream again. Like this, we had these atrophied dream muscles that we just had let go. And we were no longer really discerning, like, what was our unique call to sanctity? What was it that God was calling us to do? We were just falling into some sort of narrative that we thought we were just supposed to do. We're, married couple with kids, and we just go to church, and like our life that was it. But like the longing that was in our heart was for something so much more. And when we were finally starting to get away from all the mind drama that was standing in the way, and started saying yes to that, giving our fiat to it, oh my goodness gracious, like our life started to take off. And Erin, like your experience with it was just absolutely incredible.
Well, I think it was something that I always did. I guess I always coached people, but I never was like formally called a coach. I did it all the time when I was doing people's hair and working at the church, and it like awoke something in me, and I was like, oh, this is what it is. And I fought it for a while too, which is interesting. We do that a lot with our dreams and with our desires. And we kind of like ask the Lord, we're like, do I have permission to do this? Because I like it so much,
Right.
And it's such it's a beautiful way that he woos us closer to him and has us just cling to him in those moments. And so I really really dove in coach training. And I was like, Matt, our Catholic faith is all over this. There's some stuff that like, we don't need it. It's probably like, it's new age and it's like kind of weird and empty and it doesn't fit.
Narcissistic in some cases.
Like yeah, just kind of like self-indulgent and stuff like that. But I'm like, but there's some stuff in here that is like
the church
St. Ignatius of Loyola, and I'm seeing just bits and pieces of St. Thomas Aquinas, and I'm like
St. Mark the Ascetic.
It was coming alive. And so I said, Catholics need this. Like 100% we need this. In fact, I think we need it more than everybody else because of what we're called to do, of living in the fullness of the truth. We better get our minds, our intellect, this beautiful gift from God, our spiritual power of the soul, our intellect and our will. Like we really need to get those things in order. And so we're not saying like we take God's place at all. Like we like to say we kind of set them up with tools and then we get out of the way so that
we put on the eternal life coach.
Yeah. That makes sense. So Erin, the reason for folks to go to Metanoia Catholic and reach out to you all is maybe they're struggling in life from a addiction situation, or they're struggling in marriage, or any reason, right? Do I have that right?
Yeah, like they're stuck.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I love the quote too, by Pope Benedict, we weren't made for comfort. We were made for greatness. So I always say, I'm like, I coach people who are stuck, who know that they have a potential and know that God is calling them to something greater. And they don't know how to get out of their own way. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's relational issues. Sometimes it's, I wouldn't even say I really coach people on addictions, but addictions are like people's desire for God just kind of disordered, right? Like
it's oriented on the wrong thing that will never satisfy.
They're seeking after this infinite like goodness, right? And they're just disordered. And so I guess in some cases, I haven't really done a lot of addiction work, and probably because most people who come and get coaching, there is a distinction between coaching and counseling. Yeah. And I always use the analogy of playing on like a sports analogy. So if you have like a broken leg and you need therapy, you need to go to a physical therapist to get better. So then you can come and play on the field and go to the coach, and the coach tells you how to get from point A to point B and stop like tripping over your own feet and that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's awesome. I'm seeing the tickers going up as continuing as we're going down the half hour here. If you're just joining us, we're with Matt and Erin Ingold. They're talking to us about life, talking about their organization, Metanoia Catholic, and we're about to dive into a bunch of other things here. I actually want to just stop over. This is a great question for you both. I'll put up on the screen from John Stuckenborg. John, thanks so much for interacting with us. Matt, can you talk a little bit about how the Eucharist, or healing through the Eucharist that you mentioned early on the interview, and kind of touch more a little bit on that for everyone?
Yeah. I'm happy to share more about this. And in fact, I've shared this story quite a bit. Now I'm going to give the not even the Reader's Digest. I'm going to give it like the trailer for this. Mm-hmm. And I enter into a little bit more if you went to the RISE program, menriseup.org, and you sign up for that program. I'm actually one of the witnesses on the second day of that. And I was blessed to be able to work on that. But in short, when I was over in Afghanistan, I had an incident that happened overseas, and I was a platoon commander. I was in charge of dropping bombs, right, in support of the ground troops. It was an ambush, dropped a bomb. I thought I was dropping it on the enemy. Ended up that I killed 8 women and children. And like that was the day that like I felt my soul leave me, and they pulled a baby from the rubble. And all I could think of was I had committed the unforgivable sin at that point. And I was just damned where I stood. And I took that on myself. And I remember just getting ill and going into my tent and laying down on my cot and just praying the Hail Mary and falling asleep. And the healing that happens after that was just absolutely phenomenal. There was, when I was in Kandahar, before we pushed out to all of our individual outposts, I was going to daily mass, and there was one person from my battalion that would be showing up at daily mass, and it was our JAG officer, our military lawyer. And he called me up and he said, Matt, I got to come out there and I got to do an investigation, but fear not, I am bringing you the Eucharist. And so here I was, like this time in my life where I felt the most unlovable, the most despicable human being on the planet. It was like Christ was coming to me and saying, like, Matt, not only do I forgive you, but I want to be one with you. Like that level of intimacy. I want to be united with you. Wow. And I will cross minefields, and ambushes and rugged terrain to get to you. That's how much I desire to be with you. And I tell you what, that Eucharist ended up on our outpost. All of a sudden, it woke in this spiritual hunger in the men. And we started to pray together. And there's a group of us that prayed the rosary every single day. We started on August 16th. We took our last casualties on August 14th, pulled out in December. And I'll tell you what, we were just protected by Our Lady's mantle at that point. Wow. And beyond that, just so many incredible experiences, too many to get into right now, of just being healed in front of the Eucharist. It's actually one of the stories that I share the most when I'm invited to speak. So I thank you very much, John, for the question.
Yeah, thank you, John. And Matt, thank you for that. And of course, if you're looking to bring Erin or Matt to speak at your next event, please, you can find them on CatholicSpeakers.com. We'll be happy to set that up. And their stories are just amazing. You heard a little bit about John's experience. And thank you, Matt's experience, over in Afghanistan. And Matt, thank you for your service from us at CatholicSpeakers.com. Of course, everyone watching, God bless you for that.
Man.
You're a better man than I'll ever be. That's one of the most selfless acts. And you're guys like you are the reason guys like me can do what I do. So that's
I appreciate that. But the reality is we're all in this battle together. And the one that really counts is the one that every single person experiences. It's that spiritual battle. That's the one that if you lose that one, you lose, right?
You're exactly right.
Guys that were successful and great heroes overseers, but I'll tell you what, they're still struggling in that spiritual battle. And that's the one. That's why I got out of the Marine Corps, quite frankly. It says I wanted to work with men and give them a proper orientation to the spiritual battlefield. And that's what we do at Metanoia Catholic. That battlefield is in the mind. It's won and lost in the mind. Right. And a lot of people just don't know how to manage their mind. They don't. Majority of people do not.
Well, it's a perfect segue into another question that we have for you about the virtual Catholic conference that you did. Being that you were a platoon commander, you kind of took the lead and started what you thought was going to be 10 people were going to show up.
Oh man, our stretch was like 500, 1,000 at the most.
Well, tell us quickly about what you did with that and just the story behind that, because it's pretty inspirational.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a time in our life where Erin and I were just really longing to get back into full-time ministry, and I had an invitation to go speak in Memphis at the men's conference. I was going to be down there speaking with Matt Fradd. And it was connected with this guy, John Edwards. Didn't really know him at the time. His conference got canceled. My conference got canceled. And short, I was just like, dude, why don't we just do a virtual conference? I know a little bit about throwing websites together, enough to be dangerous. And he's like, well, what's that? And I was like, I don't know. Let's figure it out. And so that was like, at the beginning of March. But we had this picture in our mind, and I tell you what, like working a full-time job with a toddler, still running Metanoia Catholic
during a pandemic. No baby.
Like it's the Lord. It was this one fiat after another. Like I can tell you, we cannot take credit for what happened. It's all it was just yes, yes, yes. And the Lord, like what we thought was going to be 1,000 people showing up to this ended up being 64,000 people that registered, and 65 incredible speakers. We were just so blessed by it.
Wow.
And it created an opportunity for us to just take this and continue doing this. And so we stood up virtualcatholicconference.com. We just finished another amazing virtual conference with Jason Everett. We partnered with him in the Catholic Love Life Conference.
Right.
There's been some awesome spinoffs that have come from that. I know Damon Owens has got a marriage summit that's going this weekend. We've got our Eucharistic conference that's celebrating for Corpus Christi weekend. That's going to be coming up here.
Touch on that. Yes, touch on that a little bit, what that's about and how people can become a part of that.
Yeah. So the Eucharistic conference was just, we see this, there's a longing for Christ in the Eucharist. It was there before COVID, but it's just been magnified with this distancing from the Eucharist. And so we want to inspire people to really have this love for Christ in the Eucharist. It's changed our lives. And so we wanted to just introduce people to not just like dry theology, and I'm not saying like that's a bad thing. Like, thank God for the people that can dive into that and have the good doctrinal treaties on all these things. Certainly going to have some theology in there, but we've got some inspiring witness testimonies of people that have just been touched by an encounter with Christ in the Eucharist that's been life-changing. And these are the stories that we need. We got people talking Eucharistic miracles. I'm really excited. Stacey Summerall's going to be doing that. She was the person that introduced us, Joe. But we've got nearly 60 speakers at this point. We actually just added even some Hispanic tracks that are going to be done in Spanish, because there's this huge Hispanic audience that's out there that's longing to be fed as well. But that starts at noon on Friday and it goes until midnight on Sunday. We've got a premium pass if you want to go beyond that.
And we got Jonathan Rumi from the Chosen series who plays. He's going to be speaking on how the Eucharist helped him prepare for the role to play Jesus. He's going to do some live Q&A too. So that was like such a blessing too. We were like, oh, we have Jesus in the body and blood, power, divinity, and then his character.
Different type of incarnational experience of Christ here. But in fact, that he's going to be presenting, and then for our premium pass holders, there's people that upgrade to that premium pass, they're going to be eligible to jump into a live booth with Jonathan Rumi, ask their questions. I don't know if you've seen the Chosen series, Joe. If you haven't,
go watch
phenomenal. Download the app. It's free.
Yep.
Over 36 million people across the world have already tuned in. Incredible story.
Well, that's amazing. And again, where can people get involved if they need to go, or where do they go to get involved? What website for the event coming up?
Yeah, if you just go to virtualcatholicconference.com, so it's a spell it all out, virtualcatholicconference.com. You go right there and you'll see information right there. Click the button that says join the Eucharistic Conference. Certainly go to Virtual Catholic Conference Facebook page, Instagram as well, and you can find all the links to be able to join up.
That's great. And I think that they want me to touch on this comment from Holly, just one of probably tens of thousands of people that probably have the same story for what you did, Matt and Erin. She took 60 pages from the virtual conference. So, I mean, that's why you do it, right? That's why you're doing what you're doing, is to help people grow. Holly, thanks for taking the time.
Holly, you're hired. That's awesome.
But that's why we're all doing this, inspireWord, all the conferences you're now putting on through, the virtual Catholic conferences. And that's why we're all doing this, to inspire people through God.
And Joe, you're reaching people that you never would have reached at a men's conference or a women's conference too, which is incredible. Right. Parents, they don't have the ability to do these things. They've been showing up and suddenly now they're getting to be fed. Right. People in other countries too that don't have this luxury, they're getting fed. So it's just like silver lining in everything that's going on.
No, it is. It's awesome. And, I wish I had 3 hours with you guys because we're almost already out of time, which that always happens to me when I have really good personalities and people with a lot of inspiring things to say. So quickly, Erin, if I could ask you to quarterback this question. I have a lot of folks, friends and family members, that struggle as loving parents, loving spouses with infertility. And any inspiration they can get, which is the whole point of this series, from someone that may know one or two things about it. Is there anything that you might be able to share with, hope or just kind of maybe whatever you'd like to, obviously as personal as you like to get, but.
Yeah. So, the one thing that really helped me during that time, because I think, especially if it's the woman who's kind of struggling with it, they always determine what side it is. Sometimes it's both, but if it's the woman, it's really, it can be very wounding in that you're like, okay, my body is not doing the very thing it's supposed to do, anyone could do, like a 16-year-old can do, just make a baby. And so there's a lot of stories that can happen around that. And so something that really, I think it was Alice von Hildebrand in her book, Privileged to be Woman, which is a wonderful book. I think she said something like, every woman is called to be mother. Sometimes it's biological, sometimes it's spiritual, sometimes it's, and usually it's both if you are a biological mother, called to be a spiritual mother as well. But, and so in that time of waiting to get pregnant, it was 6.5 years for us.
Yeah.
It helps me delve into an extraordinary motherhood. Like an extraordinary form of motherhood. I was blessed enough to be a youth minister at that time, a youth and young adult minister. And so I could be a mother, a spiritual mother to a lot of people. And there were some cases where I was like a mother to people who are older than me. So the Lord really, when I realized that I was being called to an extraordinary motherhood and Matt was being called to an extraordinary fatherhood in that waiting time, it became very fruitful for us in an extraordinary way, right? So we weren't having actual offspring at that point, but there was a lot of fruit and a lot of transformation happening in us and preparation happening for us, but also transformation happening around us. And I thought that was the best way, because I've seen a lot of people go the bitter route and get sad and become very bitter, and I understand why they're getting, feeling that way, but also, so but there's another mindset that you can actually just try on for a little bit and say, okay, how is the Lord calling me to this extraordinary motherhood or fatherhood here?
I think it's so awesome that both of those topics we just covered, the conference and the infertility, both of you showed examples of taking lemons and turning it into lemonade, right? It's all about the mindset and how you turn a very challenging situation into something very fruitful. So that's what we're going to talk about here at the end. I want to first thank everyone for tuning in. If you're just coming in, we're talking with Matt and Erin Ingold. You can share this conversation. It's going to be posted on inspireWord.com. Please share it with friends and family if they weren't able to tune in live. So as we close down the half hour here, question for both of you, Erin and Matt, and Erin, of course, ladies first. What would you say from inspiration, from inside your heart, to those families that that are struggling right now? They lost jobs. They're up against challenges they never imagined, 2 or 3 months ago, and they're still kind of struggling and they're trying to come out of it. What would be your advice to them as parents and as leaders of their families?
One thing that I have discovered in myself lately even is the gift of poverty of spirit, and realizing how much we need to depend on God in these moments. But the reason why it's a gift, it's the first step to receiving God's goodness, is knowing our emptiness and being like, Lord, I need you. And so this time of where the Lord, it may feel like we're being stripped of a lot of our comforts. It's really, really actually, if there is a mindset shift around it, look at it as a spiritual poverty and almost this like emptiness that the Lord wants to fill up, but he can't until we actually open it up to him and say, like, Lord, I need you here. And so to kind of turn it around and open up to his abundance.
Right. Yeah. And Matt, from your heart?
Yeah, similar here, but I'd say like I asked the same question that Christ asked, the first question he asked in the gospel. And it's this question, what do you seek? It's the very first question he asks. He could have picked any other question, but he picked that one. What do you seek? And really what I see with this is like, he's like, what do you desire? What is the word that God has whispered into your heart that he wants to see made flesh in and through you? Like, this is what we do. We're Catholic. We're Christians. We're incarnational beings. And we're called to be the word made flesh. And God has whispered a word in each one of us. And if that dream muscle, like it was with me and Erin, if that's atrophied in you, if you stopped asking these questions, you're never going to get in touch with that word. And so suddenly now this time of silence, this time of retreat, whether it's something that we want or something that we don't, here it is. There's an opportunity right now to get in touch with that word. So tell you what, like, you hear that whispered word, and then you start to like cooperate and give your fiat to that word, tell you what, like the stuff that you left behind that you've lost during COVID will pale into comparison to the things that you will receive an account of that fiat of just hearing that word and then receiving it. And so I invite you to just really be contemplative about like, what is it that you want? Like ask yourself the silly questions that are actually great questions. If I had $300 million right now, like what would I do with it? Like who would I help? If I could start a business or a charity like that could do something in the world, what would it be? Like get in touch with that desire and answer that first question that Christ asked. What do you seek?
Love it. Matt and Erin Ingold, thank you so much for allowing us to come into your home tonight. You put down the kid before. You guys are superstars, parents, a great couple walking the walk. Thanks for hearing God's calling. You know, it's just been a real pleasure. We're definitely going to have you both on again. And quickly, where can virtualcatholicconference.com, correct? And that's where folks can join the event you have coming up in this weekend or next weekend?
This weekend.
This weekend.
The 12th to the 14th. Yeah, Corpus Christi weekend. It's a free event. virtualcatholicconference.com. You can sign for free if you want to get access beyond the free weekend. There's the premium pass that we have. It's $39.99, super cheap. Get you access to Jonathan Rumi's Q&A as well. So and then a lot of the proceeds actually go to helping out the speakers that are actually supporting us here. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey, God bless you both. Yes, thank you. And we're going to make sure we do everything we can to try and encourage all the event organizers that are watching to bring you both to their events when we get back to normal in person. Because you're a dynamite couple. We need to duplicate that and get your inspiration out there. So thank you for both being here, and we'll hope to have you on again soon.
All right, thanks Joe.
God bless
you, everyone.